So starting a business is one of the best ways to ensure immortality. Starting a business, not thinking that you're going to die and go and live forever in the sky. That's cool if you believe that. But starting a business that will feed your family, just like Mr. Grace, he's dead and gone. But the business he established is still feeding his family. So we're grateful for the blessings of the sunshine, and we're grateful to each and every one of you who have taken time out of your very busy schedules. We are honored, and we know we are very privileged to have you in attendance and to have your wonderful access to your wonderful minds. And I'm hopeful, as my co-host just mentioned, we can have an interactive session this evening UK time, because the whole idea is to move yourselves, myself, all of us to move forward. Okay, so just a quick word, those of you who were in attendance last week, I hope you were able to apply some of the things that we discussed last week, because this week we're going to build on what we discussed last week. And hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we will be able to relaunch the Spiritual Injection app in the Apple and Android app store for you to be able to access all of the back catalogs so that you can go over much of this timely information that we're sharing with you on a weekly basis. So this week, we want to discuss, are you getting the salary you deserve? Please put a one in the chat if you're comfortable, happy, overjoyed, ecstatic with the salary you are currently receiving from your labor, from your hard work. Now, as I was thinking about what we're discussing, one of the things that came to mind in raising the question, are we receiving or being remunerated according to the efforts we put in? The vast majority of us, if we're not the owner of the business that we are a part of, I doubt very much you're being remunerated to the degree that your value denotes. Let me say it like that. Yeah. So, question for each and every one of you. Put a 1 in the chat if you're employed, and a 2 if you're self-employed or a business owner. A 1 if you're employed, and a 2 if you are self-employed or a business owner. Now, if you have, well, let me let me say it like this: if you are skilled, okay, like obviously it takes skill to walk down the street, you can say, but if you don't suffer from any disabilities, you should be able to walk down the street. So we can't necessarily classify that as a skill. So if you're just in, like, working in Vodafone, for instance, and you're just selling phones, that's one form of skill, right? Because you got to learn about the phone. True?
True.
Yeah? But those type of employments, they have a cap to which, it has a ceiling, it has a maximum amount of money you can be paid. Yeah? So your front store, Vodafone, you probably are not taking home more than 25,000 a year. Or if there's anybody who works for Vodafone or EE or O2 or any of those networks, then please put in the chat clarity if I got that wrong. Yeah.
Mhm.
Now, the next question I want to ask you, to those of you who are employed, do you know how many staff the company you work for employ? Those of you on camera, if you're employed, raise your hands. You ain't gonna raise no hands. But,
Mhm.
but if you work for a company, do you know, do you know how many employees that company employs? So if you work for the local council, if you work for Tesco's, if you work in a law firm, regardless, do you know how many employees work in your company? If it's yes, put a one in the chat. If, in fact, put a three. And if you don't know, put a four in the chat. And I would imagine some of you who work for companies that you actually are not interested.
Mhm.
You only care about your job, right? And whether that is safe. Yeah.
Mhm.
Now, who works for global companies? If your company is global, put a five in the chat. So, Vinny, you got to help me with this.
Okay, no fives yet.
Global company.
That has arms, internationally.
Yeah, it's an international company. It has
Right.
branches outside of
Right.
the place that you're employed.
Okay, we have one, two.
So,
Mm.
do you have any interest in the global workforce of the company you work for? You know, for those of us who are working for companies and you're not interested in the amount of staff that company employs and what the wage structures are and what the highest rate of pay is, you shouldn't allow yourself to continue working for that company for another 6 months
Mm.
because you're doing something that you're really not interested in.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
because there are higher wage brackets in the company you work for. But the mere fact that you don't study the company, it means you're not interested in such, which
Or,
is not necessarily the best thing for you.
or
Yeah.
even knowing where you fit in the pecking order. Like,
Mm, right. Now, next question. Those of you who work for a company, do you know the annual turnover of the company that you work for the last 12 months? What was the income, the gross annual income of the company that you work for 2024? Anybody know?
no takers in the chat.
So you go to work. Let's get this right. You go to work and you work for someone and you do not know the value of that company because every company has a valuation.
Right.
You hear of mergers all the time. You hear of acquisitions all the time. You hear of takeovers all the time. You hear about this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if the company you work for is a company that is in financial trouble,
Mm-hmm.
then if you're keeping your tabs on the company, then you do not need to wait for the company to go into liquidation and for everybody to be made redundant for you to start looking for an alternative place of employment. But if you're not interested in the company's growth, development, its forecast, its projections, then you can be caught by surprise one day soon.
Mm-hmm.
Because if that company files for bankruptcy, you're out of a job. Are you with me?
Mm-hmm.
And those of you who live in London, there are whole councils who are going bankrupt. Like the whole council is going bankrupt. So it pays for us to know the strength and the weaknesses of those who we have attached our finances to. Yeah?
Mm-hmm. Dependency.
You just have to start being interested in these things. Next question I want to ask you. How do you determine your value to the company you work for? How do you determine your value to the company you work for? Now, I want a live example. I want one of you to put your hand up and talk to me directly. Michelle, please, let's give her an opportunity to speak. Take her off of mute. Are
Okay, so
you valuable
your
to,
value is your
I'm talking about
exit.
yours.
Oh, my value. I'm not working, but yeah, it is.
Okay, you see yourself as valuable in the past, whoever you worked for.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, on the basis of what?
First, the two key points you made, which is the amount of staff they had and the amount of money they make. I knew those things when I was a teenager because those are things I researched. Because my objective was how long can I stay in this job for, and how long do I have to re-educate myself to move on to another job. And basically, I was good at analyzing and researching, which most people didn't know those things. And I was good at keeping that to myself. So I was good at data analysis. None of those things I was taught. Hence why I worked for the council by the time I was 19, and I was in the 80s.
So tell
So
me
yeah,
something. Do you think to your department that you added value?
yeah, I added value because I started recycling. They wasn't recycling before. They were throwing paper away in the dustbin. You know, when you've seen adverts, somebody's
Yeah,
writing a dustbin until it ends up on the floor.
yeah,
So I suggested I used to use those to write draft letters. So I'd write something down on the paper instead of throwing in the bin, read it through, then I'll type it because I had to do typing.
yeah.
So and then I used to print on them as well. So I
So
used to
you're
keep.
going back a few years when you're talking about a manual typewriter,
No, no,
right?
no, no. We use computers.
Okay.
But I would copy my writing on the paper to save paper. Recycling didn't exist then.
Okay.
That's
Because I
why
was
they
going
now
to say,
recycle. That's now they have recycling bins in the estates now. If I didn't do the recycling, it wouldn't happen. So I
so
saved the
you
council
you
loads of
were
money.
responsible for the recycling bins, huh?
Yeah, because I was working in
That's
headquarters. I worked in corporate services where the policy started. I worked
fantastic.
there when GLA turned to, is it ILEA turned to GLA or GLA turned to ILEA in a
Yeah,
London education
yeah,
authority from the
yeah.
government led.
You only look 15 and now you're showing your age, so I better move on.
Yeah, I helped to improve loads of things in the community still to this day. So I'm very valuable.
Very
And they
good.
know that based on your age as well. They know you just put certain areas that you've worked in.
Yeah,
They know that you know everything you do, and they can use you to teach the younger ones because that's what they do. They save
right.
money and use in-house to say to teach the younger ones.
Without paying any extra
And yeah,
bonuses, right? Okay, so thanks for that. Now, let me just press on. Yeah. Now, I want those of you who know, like, do you know any productive persons? Like, who in the audience would say, I know 5, 4, 3, 10, 20, or even just one productive person? Put a 6 in the chat if you know a productive person. Productive person. Put your hand up if you think you know what I'm talking about. What do I mean by a productive person in your life? Not in general, in your life. Somebody want to? No, I'm not coming back to you. You had too much. Somebody give me a hand.
They should just be able to unmute anyway.
They should do what?
They should be able to unmute and just
Okay. Anybody? Productive person.
productive.
Brianna, please.
Um, when I hear that, I assume you're talking about someone who actually is productive as in has results. They go out, they can produce. That's what comes to my mind.
Right. So a productive person in your life means what? How would you categorize a productive person in your life from a business perspective?
I would say just like one of my partners, um, productive in the way of like one of the things I do is sell life insurance. So I'll go to him, ask him and his wife will join in. And if I don't know an answer to like an IUL compared to like a whole life or whatever, then they can help me. Productive in that way.
Right.
Um,
So therefore, they add value to your life.
I would say so, yes.
Right. Now, a productive person are really those who add value to your life. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And enrich creation by so doing. Okay.
Mhm.
So if you say you have friends and if you say you have associates, what you have to consider is, are they productive? Are they adding value to your life? And by so doing, are they enriching creation? Now, next point I want us to discuss is what we call ancestral empowerment. Yeah. So we're going to move very quick because time is on us. Mm-hmm. Ancestral empowerment. If you can put it up for me, Sylvina, and we can have a little read together. Ancestral empowerment, where we consider European dominance, particularly in Europe and the West, is predicated upon them having what is typically known as ancestral empowerment power, or environmental, rather, power, ancestral environmental power. And this affords those who are European a massive advantage over all who do not possess European ancestry. So whatsoever the direction European people look in, they see their ancestral accomplishments from which they extract strength and power. Take that down for me. So that slide really should compel each and every one of us to start a business. Because if you leave your house and you see nothing that is reflective of you and your ancestry, then where does your power come from? If there's no ancestral empowerment in your community, then what is the responsibility that you have to your community? You have a responsibility to build something that is representative of your culture, don't you think? That statement that we just read out, it really compels every last one of us to start a business. Yeah, a business that will serve as a landmark. Put that slide up for me, Sylvina. That will serve as a landmark of our time on this marvelous earth. You know, what usually serves as our landmark that we were here is a tombstone. And that's not good enough. Mm-hmm. Take that down. Mm-hmm. Think about it. When people want to remember that you were here, what do when you're dead? They go to the cemetery and go to visit your tombstone. But when you're a productive person, Mr. Ford has been dead a long time, but Ford lives, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Some of you are driving Fords. Mm-hmm. So through his business, he lives. How many names are on your high street? How many products do you have in your life that bear the name of somebody who has since deceased? Many, right?
Yeah.
So starting a business will allow you to set your own landmark that will let the world know that you were here, not by going to a cemetery, but by seeing how your mind, that which you initiated, is evolving scientifically and technically through the ages. Yeah?
Mhm.
So just having a job is not going to do that. So wherever you work at the moment, you should be learning everything about that business so that you can do what? You can build on it and you can establish that same business and put your name on it. Now think about it. Are there any lawyers in the house? If there's a couple of you who are in law, the question is, do you fall within the bracket of just being a lawyer, or are there other services that you can offer outside of the courtroom? Like not a side business as such, but as a business that will rival your main vocation. Have you even ever thought about it? Have you ever thought about a business of counseling young people? If you're a corporate lawyer or even elders, have you ever thought about advising people on how to go into business, how to avoid the pitfalls, or starting a business on how to help people when they come out of prison and go into major corporations to help to fund such business so that you can help those who are, offenders to no longer continue to offend the law in the land in which they live? Have you ever thought about such? Everybody all right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So you mentioned, Brianna, that you were into insurance. So if you sell insurance policies or you're into insurance, do you know how large the insurance business is globally? Do you know how much money is involved in the insurance business globally? What the value of it is?
If I don't mess up my numbers, I want to say like 1.2 trillion or something like that. I know it's a lot.
Yeah, very good. Very good. Very good. How important is it to know that?
Very.
Because if you're, sorry, go ahead.
No,
No, please.
no.
I insist.
It's important to know because numbers don't lie. So you can statistically point out what people are spending money on, what they aren't spending money on, and how big the industry is. And it's also because insurance is one of the things that even during recessions does not go under. And that's important. I'm doing it for now. I don't know how long I'll actually be doing it because I have my own nonprofit and stuff like that as well. But um, it's good to know those numbers so that I know where I can go.
So I'm glad you said that, because if you're in a business that is worth that amount of money, have you ever thought about starting your own business that can bring in maybe 0.25% of that global figure?
I have, yes.
Okay. So I'm glad we circled back, and I'm glad you mentioned your nonprofit, because why do you think it's necessary to have a business that is entitled nonprofit if your objective is to make a profit?
Because my objective is to help people. I will have an LLC paired to it as well. But even nonprofits, you can technically make money as long as you give away more than you take in. So I don't know if I have the best answer for that, to be honest.
Look, the global value of the health industry is over 5.5 trillion. So if the global income of the health industry is over 5.5 trillion, and that's your passion, should you not want 0.25% of that figure?
Absolutely. No, but I said help, not health. But yes.
No, you can help others, of course.
Okay.
And God helps those who what?
Help themselves.
And in order for you to help others, you need to be in a pretty healthy position yourself. And if you're not in a healthy position, then you help others to your own personal detriment. Yeah?
Yes, sir.
That's true.
So you've always got to strengthen and help, strengthen and help, strengthen and help. But if you just help, you will find yourself getting weak. Because who is there within your friendship class who empowers you? Because most people, their friends just drain them. Their colleagues just drain them. That's why when they get home, they're not empowered, they're drained. So let me move on real quick, because there's some points I really want to touch with you, because I think it's important for us to understand the power of culture. Does everybody in the room have a culture?
Yes.
Yeah.
If you have a culture, put a 1 in the chat for me. If you would claim to be a cultured man and a cultured woman.
So only Michelle at the moment, okay.
One cultured person in the room.
Can the
Yvonne,
nation be considered a culture?
Hannah.
Right?
It can be, but I don't want you to ask me a question. I asked you a question. So you don't answer a question with a question. So look, let's go over the next slide, Sylvina, please. I want everybody to read this. Could you read it for us?
It is imperative for all of us to go into business. I would go as far as to say, if you don't have a business, you don't have culture.
Think about it. If you don't have, take it down for a sec. That's a bold statement to make. If you don't have a business, you don't have culture. What does that mean to you, Jabril? Because that can be considered quite inflammatory, can it not?
Yes, sir. Assalamu alaikum, brother.
Hey, wa alaikum salam.
Yes. Well, for culture, I mean, it's just a way of conducting yourself, I think, a way you are and doing.
No, but speak to the point I just made, right?
Yeah.
Like the question on the floor.
Yes, sir.
So run back over the question for me, Sylvina.
So it's your statement, your quote says, if you don't have business, you don't have culture. So what does that mean to you? Because it sounds and it can be considered an inflammatory statement. So what does that statement mean to you?
Pull that down.
You don't have business, you don't have culture. It's, I think, a way of life, a way of being independent. I mean, I from what I get from it, it's just a way of carrying it, carrying the business. But
well, let's go back to the statement previously mentioned, because I don't want us to just be running through slides without giving it some thought. Michelle, you wanted to say something?
Yes, I did. So when I was working, what I noticed that there was no Caribbean shops where I could buy my lunch. So I put the word out there. This was back in the 80s, 90s. And this is where you start to see the evolution of Caribbean stores. So when I was growing up in England, it's only the kebab shop, chip shop, and Chinese shop, and 1 and 2 Indian shop. There's no Caribbean shop. So because I had a culture, and it wasn't food I wanted to go into at the time. It was more business studies. I helped people to think of business ideas because they were struggling. Most of the time they were doing taxi work. So catering was something I wanted to go into, but that's where the
It's short. It's Michelle, very short, because we got only about 20 minutes left. But in regards to the statement on the floor, speak to the statement on the floor.
Okay, so for me, culture, for me to find a business idea that I would have passion for, I would more think of something that's more for my clientele, my customers, will be based on where my parents came from.
Right. Okay.
And how that affects my life and what I don't have in the country that I'm in, because I'm not in the country where my parents come from.
Okay, very good. So look, remember the statement before in regards to ancestral empowerment.
Oh.
Ancestral empowerment. Yeah?
I didn't see that, brother. Sorry.
So ancestral empowerment, we can say, if you live in France, whatever the French, when a Frenchman leaves his home, he can look in 4 directions and he can see French culture. Okay? You live in Japan, it's the same. You live in Germany, it's the same. Take that down. So if we see nothing that is reflective of our ancestry, do we not have an obligation to put something on the high street?
Yeah, definitely.
What is the most basic business that we need to have in our community if we're living in a country that we are not somewhat native to?
Food supply?
No, most basic. Yeah, that too. Very good. Anybody else? What's the most fundamental?
School, I think. Something.
What did you say?
A school or
a school.
Something educational.
It has to be a school.
Yes, sir.
And if you live in a country where the business people do not come together to put an educational system that is representative of your culture, what do you think will happen to your children?
Adopt somebody else's culture.
Assimilate it.
Somebody else's culture. They will become what's called acculturated. Let's get into it. Finish reading the slide for me.
I believe our culture is born out of your businesses. If we don't have business, we cannot say we are a free people.
Stop right there. So how many complaints do we make about this, that, and the other? Because we want somebody from who is not of our culture to do something culturally for us. How can you complain to a European and ask them to teach in their school African and Caribbean culture? When you really think about it, you're actually not well.
Yeah.
I agree.
You think you're well, but you're not well. And you think you have a right to tell a European to teach African culture in a European school. Caribbean culture. Why would somebody teach that?
They don't have to.
Us get upset when we say, okay, you know, we want slavery taught in school. Why? It's okay for, and you say, well, they teach about the Holocaust. That's because they're all European.
Yeah.
It makes sense. Now, if you have your school, guess what? Guess what you can teach in your school that your business people are running?
Yes, sir.
You could teach about the transatlantic slave trade. And you don't have to teach about the Holocaust in your school. But because you don't have a school, because we don't see it as a fundamental business, then we're begging another man in his house to represent us, which is ludicrous.
Yes, sir.
So back to the point, I believe it's imperative for all of us to go into business. Yeah. And as we said, we'll go as far to say, if you don't have a business, we don't have a culture in the environment in which we live. because we believe that our culture is born out of our businesses. And if we don't have business, we cannot say we are a free people. We have been dependent from the very beginning, drawing subsistence from our mother's umbilical cord. We were dependent in the womb, right? And then we were released from that dependence and then reattached to our mother's breast to become dependent again on our mothers for sustenance. Yeah. So culture is not what you, and then our parents' job is to prepare us and wean us off of themselves to be able to go out in what they call the big bad world and survive. Is to equip us with the skills that we need to go out and succeed. Yes? That's what all of this education is for, is to prepare us, to equip us to go out into the world and to succeed. Very quickly, culture is not what we say. Culture is your lifestyle. And if you and I say that we have a culture because we're wearing African garments, but Caucasian people own the factories and manufacture our African attire, are we really cultured? If another man is making your African garment. If we eat, as you mentioned, Michelle, Caribbean cuisine, but do not own the largest producer and supplier of Caribbean foods, Grace Foods, it was founded by a man called Grace Kennedy, commonly known today as Grace, which was founded in Jamaica in 1922. Is that food that we don't produce really our cultural heritage if we don't produce it?
No.
Put one in the chat if you think it's still ours, even if we don't produce it. Even if we don't produce it, put a one in the chat if you think it's still our heritage. And if Europeans own the farms that produce our food, our clothing, are we really cultured, or have we been acculturated, which means assimilate to a different culture, typically the dominant one?
Assimilated.
So who eats Grace Foods and Grace's products? Go to the next slide and put Mr. Dr. Grace up for me. This is whose food you're eating. He founded the company.
It's very rare. I eat what's the cheapest. I don't care who it is.
This is Dr. Grace. So all of that Caribbean food with the name Grace on it, he started that company. And his family still owns it. He's Dr. Grace, and there was another one called Kennedy. Everybody all right?
Wow.
Yeah. I was aware that some of the products are owned by Europeans.
So starting a business is one of the best ways to ensure immortality. Starting a business, not thinking that you're going to die and go and live forever in the sky. That's cool if you believe that. But starting a business that will feed your family, just like Mr. Grace, he's dead and gone. But the business he established is still feeding his family. The company was structured in a way that it can't be sold without his family being the main shareholder. So we have to own businesses, okay? So if you said, for instance, that, do you think God himself is a businessman? Put a 7 in the chat if you believe God is a businessman.
Yes, 2, 3, Yvonne, Loretta, Michelle, Trevor, Angela, Victor, all say 7. Brianna, Maxine, Jeffrey, Sasha.
What is the basis of business? Isn't it to multiply and produce a product?
Yeah, high intelligence.
Who produces the most products? When you say Who has the copyright for human procreation?
Creator.
You got to say it's him, the big man. Like it's his IP, is his intellectual property.
Whole universe.
You think about it. So he's the biggest businessman there is out here.
That's
Because you end up working for him even when you don't even intend to. Oh, whoa, I'm pregnant. Whoa. You just work for the father. Now, you think about some of the intellectual property that the Most High owns. What would you say if he owns appetite and desire? How powerful a business IP is that? What if you was to put a value on an IP of desire and appetite? What would it be worth?
That number don't even exist yet.
Like everything you eat is based upon appetite and desire.
Yeah.
Every person you desire, you want to be amongst or around is based upon appetite and desire. So how powerful is the one who gave us appetite and desire? And the largest, the greatest food producers, what do they incline you to their goods by doing? How do they get you to buy their product?
Marketing.
Through appetite and your desire. So they follow the divine pattern to get you addicted to their product.
Mm.
So somebody tell me in the chat, what's the largest food company there is in the world? What's the largest food company in the world?
Montus, Heinz, Unilever,
There you go. Nestles it is. Go back to that one. It's Nestles. They're number one.
Okay.
They're number one.
Mm.
But when you think of Nestles, you think of something sweet.
Yeah.
they have weaponized sugar. They've weaponized it. And they make billions annually because of their ability to drug the masses of the people. Isn't that something?
Mm.
So look, if we're going to get into business and we all have got to increase our income, don't we?
Yes.
What do you think if we had 3 areas to choose from? What do you think we should choose, each and every one of you? Somebody give me one industry that we should learn to master.
Health.
Health, very good. But what comes before health? Or what sustains good health?
Food, of course.
Food has to be number one, right?
That's
Because with poor food, our health is going to be shot. With good food, we can consider good food medicine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
yes, sir.
So we have to be producers of food. And if you work in a supermarket, can we say, even if you're just stacking shelves, that you're in the food industry?
No, you're just learning how to.
No, but you're actually in the industry because you handle food every day.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And we're not allowed to leave our homes unless we have something over our bodies, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
So we need to cover food, clothing, and shelter. So let's have a look. How many Caribbean and African shops do you see on the high street where you live? How many?
Uh,
And if you see a Caribbean in an African shop, what type of shop generally is it?
Fast food, takeaway.
Or, come on, you know the big one. Hair.
Oh, I don't think about those things, brother.
You don't have to think about it, but you're being impacted if that's all you can see that belongs to your heritage.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let's look. The food industry is worth $14 trillion.
Yeah.
So if the food industry is worth $14 trillion, then don't you think we need to control 1% of it? But do we as a people? No.
Mm-mm.
If we outnumber every other people on the planet 11 to 1, don't you think we need to control 1% of the 14 trillion?
Mm.
So we need some people to go into the food business, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
Are there any takers? Put a 6 after knowing that the food industry is worth 14 trillion, that there's room for you.
Mm.
You know, in Dubai recently, they have this bar of chocolate that is driving everybody up a wall and down the other side. And it's chocolate with pistachio, and there's something else. Somebody help me with this.
Got gold leaf in there or something.
It's just got a lot of stuff in it.
Yeah.
But a little bar, I was in a shop and saw it as I was watching a business, sort of like somebody was being interviewed from Dubai about this product.
Mm-hmm.
And this little bar of chocolate, you imagine your Twix bar, it was selling for £14 for a little bar of chocolate. This thing was so expensive. I mean, super expensive. So I obviously had to buy it because I needed to know what the rage was, right? It was just super sweet. But every shop you go into, like a healthy shop you go into, they have these chocolates everywhere. And what has that company done? That company has decided to produce a product and take some of that market share that is on the board.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what can we do from Africa, from the Caribbean? What can we do from the different countries in Europe by way of producing a product that is unique to our culture? Is there anything?
Everybody's taking the ideas.
No, there's plenty more. Because those in Dubai could have said the same thing.
How was the chocolate? Because I've seen it, but I've never tasted it.
I was banging. It was good.
Oh, it was. Okay.
Yeah. It's worth the money. It's worth the money. It's worth the money.
It's pistachio and kadaif, which is an Arabic type of.
There you go. You got it. What is it called?
It's made from
Cardamom?
pistachio and kadaif. It's like a shredded strand that Middle Eastern pastry makers use. They use for desserts.
I wish you could put a picture of it up so that people can see how young this company is.
Yeah.
But the company is now worth tens of millions of pounds.
And it was born out of a woman's pregnancy craving. That's why she came up. That's why they came up with it originally. I'll try and find it.
Some of you sisters, you have pregnancy cravings, right? But you just make people rich, right? She produced the product.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else you want to share on that?
Oh, yeah, well, it was on, as you said, it's very young. It was only popularized in 2024. And one of the things that they were saying, that I saw a program about it as well, is that it's handmade. That's their, and that's what they value it at, and that's what they're selling it at. And it was just a hit, as you say, it's just taken off. It's taken off. So everybody give up them job and this are the main thing now.
Now, if I ask those of you in the audience a question, does Arabia produce cocoa?
Mhm.
Not that I'm aware of.
Nope.
Where do you think they get the chocolate from?
Africa or
Just
Jamaica.
take a wild guess.
Caribbean?
Africa.
It would be Africa.
Africa.
Ghana, Jeff, is a big producer of cocoa. St. Lucia is also,
Yes, sir. That's right.
but Ghana is a big producer. Many of these African countries, all of this chocolate. And it's not as if you say, okay, the chocolate market is saturated. What Sylvina just read out is to let you know there are some new cravings that can be satisfied with new products. Haven't you noticed, no matter how many clothes you have, you always want something new? And no matter how much time you say, I'm not buying any more shoes, I'm not buying any more, I'm done with it. Okay. Let's go to the mall and see how done you are with it. And in a short period of time, you're going to have a desire for something new. Now, that's not just with your attire. That is also for cuisine. And if the raw materials is in the countries where we are native, don't you think it's time now for us to start making contact with our motherlands? Yeah. Let's look real quick. Let's move real quick. How many of you in the audience are in the construction business? Put a 9 in the chat if you're in the construction business. How many of you know the value of the construction business, who are in the construction business? Put a 1 in the chat if you know the value of the global construction industry. What is it worth if you're in construction? Don't you think you should know? As a lawyer, Jeff, don't you think those in construction should know the global value of the construction industry if they're serious?
They should know if they're serious, yes, sir.
Right. So they should know that it's worth 15 trillion.
Wow.
And if you're in the construction industry and your industry is worth 15 trillion globally, are you really satisfied with what you're getting as a sole trader where you just work by yourself with a van? And you think that's a job or that you're doing something just because you're one person with a van? But 15 trillion is up for grabs? I think we're thinking a bit too low, don't you think? See, where the problem is what we're doing full time really should be our side hustle.
Yeah.
What we do full time and how we're remunerated, whether it's 30,000, 40,000, 50,000, 60,000, 70,000, 80,000, 90,000, 100,000, that should be our side money. Because if you're in construction, you should know 10 other persons who are in construction, and you should be coming together to form a major construction company that can submit a tender for major contracts from the city. Now, if your company turns over 100,000, 150,000. Do you know your company's not big enough to go and submit a tender for a major contract from the city? If the city wants to build a school and they want to offer you the bricklaying work, if your company's not turning over in excess of 7 figures, you wouldn't even be considered. So how do others do it? Others come together in unity and put together a company. So 10 of them with an income of 100,000 together, their company's worth $1 million. They form a company in collaboration, one with another, with their joint income, and then they submit a tender for the big contracts from the mayor's offices.
Okay.
Are you following me? We like to stay small.
Right.
Because we like to control everything.
Yes, that's right.
It just doesn't work like that. If you want to control everything, you're going to stay tiny.
Yeah.
And this is why when we speak, Brianna, about people coming into our communities and taking this and taking that, you know the way how they take it from us? They take it in unity. And we try to hold onto it individually. So Sylvina, they will sack us for working in their school, and then we will complain as if we can take the owners of their institutions to a tribunal and force them to give us back our jobs, where you were only an anomaly in the first place. It's okay to serve school dinners in a school to get yourself back on your feet, but it's not okay if you're still there a year later. Are you with me?
Yeah.
If you need to get off the ground, you've just gone into a new country and you need to be a waiter and a waitress, that's okay for 6 months until you get on your feet. But if you're still there after a year and you're not the manager, something's wrong. Okay? So let's move on real quick. Is there anybody who's in the car industry in the room who likes cars, buying and selling cars? Anybody like that? Once upon a time, quite a few of us used to be in that kind of business, the motor industry. But you find nowadays, not a lot of us are in the motor industry. But do you know that the global automobile sales is one of the biggest industries in the world, ranking amongst the top earners, with a revenue estimated at 4.357 trillion annually? So when people are always trying to sell you a new car, they're not actually trying to sell you the car. They're actually leasing you the car for 2 to 3 to 4 years. Okay? Because they're only building these cars to last for 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 years, unless it's a Japanese car or something like that. But the general Fords and these things, they're only designed to really drive well for 2 years. Other than that, the seats start hurting. You have to put a pillow on your seat and prop it up. So unless you're getting real high end, these mid-range cars are just designed to get you in and out, change it in 2 years, new car, change it in 2 years. Well, all of that changing in 2 years, 3 years amounts to 4.357 trillion annually. So people are getting paid good money from working in that industry. Okay. So let's get into culture real quick, and then we'll close with some question and answers, if you don't mind. Yeah. So culture. We're going to define culture as, you've got a different slide from me. Okay. Intellectual, artistic. No, go back to it. Intellectual, artistic. Go back to it. Yeah. intellectual, artistic, awareness, educated, erudition, the quality of having or showing great knowledge or learning, scholarship. So when you're cultured, you have to be intellectual, you have to be intelligent, you have to be artistic, you have to have awareness, you have to be educated, you have to have an appreciation for erudition, which is the quality of having or showing great knowledge or learning. Yeah, you can't be cultured and ignorant. It doesn't work. So therefore, you have to also be scholarly if you're cultured. And culture is learning, enlightenment, having good taste, taste, being refined, and also being humorous. So you're a joyful person to be around, right? So just moving on to another definition of culture, go to the next slide. Culture, the ideas, customs, and social behavior of a particular people or society. The attitude and behavior characteristic of a particular social group. Culture. Very important. Very important. Now, just to close off, it's imperative that we all go into business and we all provide something of need and value for our community. Okay? And I'm going to close with a group who we can learn from in regards to how to do this, regardless to how few of you or how many. Okay? So if you can go to Liverpool for me, Sylvina. Oh. This is what they call Chinatown in Liverpool. I bet you didn't know that the oldest Chinatown in England was in Liverpool. Mm-mm. So if they have a Chinatown in Liverpool and you've never been, then that's somewhere for Chinese people to go and be at home, right? Mm-hmm. And they also have one in, go to the next ones. That's in Manila, in the Philippines. See, everything in Chinatown is Chinese. Go ahead. To the next one. This is Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, another Chinatown. Go ahead. You would have thought, go back to where you were. You would have thought in Kuala Lumpur, in Malaysia, that's so close to China, that you wouldn't need a Chinatown because the cultures are so similar. I was thinking. The Chinese don't see it that way. Mm. The Chinese don't see it that way. It's like saying you're going to have a Jamaica town in Barbados. That's thinking. Well, when you get to Barbados, you'll crave a Jamaica town. If you want some swordfish and ackee, you ain't gonna get it in certain places. I remember being in a Caribbean country and I had a desire for some ackee and couldn't get it nowhere in St. Lucia. It just wasn't there. I had to go to the Sandals Resort to get my ackee and swordfish. But it wasn't swordfish, but the ackee. Mm-hmm. Because Sandals is a Jamaican resort. So it was like my Chinatown, if you will, in St. Lucia. So go again. You have a Chinatown in Melbourne, Australia. Now, whose duty was it, do you think, who do you think wanted this Chinatown in Melbourne, Australia? Do you think it was the Australians or do you think it was the Chinese who lived there? Mm-hmm. That's a real question for you to answer. Do you think the Australians, as racist as they are, they just woke up one day and said, it would be nice to have a Chinatown in Australia? No. The Chinese who were living there wanted a place that was reflective of their home country and their culture. So the businessmen and the businesswomen set up a place where they could feel at home in another country, where they could have protection in another country, where everything in Chinatown is Chinese. Isn't that something to consider? Go to the next one. See, they weren't satisfied just with Melbourne. Looking in Vancouver is the same. In Canada, Chinatown. Go again. Now, not just, now it's in Sydney, Australia. They built another one. Who do you think built this? It's cultured Chinese people. And they're showing us what we must do everywhere we live. Go to the next slide. That looks like London almost.
It says it's London, UK.
It is London. Yeah, I knew it was London. Yeah, so this one's London. Yeah. And the other one was in Liverpool in England. Yeah, this is Waldorf Street. And it's expanded. Yeah. And go to the last one. I think it is New York, Manhattan. And this has been there forever. I think since the 19th century. This has been in New York. And if the Chinese can build a Chinatown in New York, are you trying to tell me we can't build something? Now, pull that down for a sec. And I actually know what you're going to say when I say, can't we build something? You're going to say, we did build Black Wall Street and they burnt it down. Okay, and then what? It just stays burnt down? People rebuild every day that which was burnt down. And the key, Sylvina, to building something, we have to call Brianna because she works for the insurance company. So if they burn it down, we submit a claim. And does your company pay out, Brianna?
Absolutely.
Right. So
Got me worried then. It took long time.
So Jabril, we can't say they burnt it down.
Yes.
Yes, they did. But did we have insurance?
Yeah.
And if we had insurance, we build it back.
Yes, sir.
If we didn't have insurance, Jabril, we learned an expensive lesson.
Yes, sir.
You're only going to get your house broken into once without insurance. The next time, hey, you're going to get some insurance.
Everything
And protect it.
And you're going to get it protected.
Yes, sir.
So, Brianna, no more excuses in the US of A. We had it, they burnt it. No, we rebuild what they burned. Do you think if Chinatown got burnt down by a mob, that it would stay burnt down?
Nope.
Why only ours? Why do we get so discouraged? Why? To the degree that you don't do anything? That's a heck of a discouragement, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
It's like having a bad relationship and saying, man, I'm never going to date another man. That's extreme.
Yeah.
Man, I'm never going to date another woman. That's extreme. But you don't do that. But you only do that when it comes to building a business. So I wanted to just close on that because I want to see Ghana town, Nigeria town, Jamaica town, Haiti town, Ivory Coast town. You see, the brothers from the Ivory Coast came to London and whooped the English team 3-1. Now that's Senegal. So in France, Gisela, look how many people from Senegal are there. We need a Senegal town. Are you with me? And our places can't just be places of ill repute.
Mm.
Following me?
Yes.
There should be no prostitution in our community. You can't go to Chinatown and find prostitution there. Where in Australia, Australian men are going to come into Chinatown to pick up one of the Chinese women. It doesn't work like that. We can't call our place if that's all we're doing is drugs and these kind of things. It can't be our community is the place where you go to for illicit things. No, we got it all wrong. That's the place you go if you want to get shot. No. The Chinese are safe in Chinatown. We got to be safe in our own towns. No?
Yes, sir.
That's what I thought. So with that said, everybody, my presentation is concluded. Is there any questions you want to ask me? Please feel free at this time before I just wrap up and close. So please, you can speak. Thank you for. So if there's anything in the chat, you can acknowledge it.
No questions in the chat. I'd like to thank you on behalf of the audience.
Hold on 1 minute. I got a hand up.
Okay.
Sister, please. YGRE.
Sure, Greece. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I really appreciate what you did this evening. It was very, very, very insightful. Makes you really think wider, and I think it's important for us to keep our minds thinking broad, especially with all the distraction in the news. I think I'm going to just bring it back to a conversation I had with a sister, and when I was discussing about families coming together and building generational wealth. Yes, we do need it, and I do see a lot of Black families doing that. What I heard from a sister was that is a culture within a family. If it's not there, then it's very hard to build it if that culture hasn't already been sown, for them to start to come together and build something of worth. And that was the kind of like the lick down to say, if you even though that might be something that you highly desire, you see all around you, it's not always foreseeable.
But what's the question?
Culture. It's
because the person the person who was coming against the idea, they call that the person who's stress testing the conviction of the person who put forth the idea.
Okay.
Their conviction was being tested.
I see.
So if you say you want to do something, but I can harangue you, or I can, just question you and kill your desire, then you weren't strongly committed. You weren't committed. Because if I can talk you out of it in 5 minutes, you weren't committed. Because generational wealth, what's your name, sister?
Yvonne.
Sorry?
Yvonne. Yeah.
Generational wealth could be something as basic as somebody buying an ounce of gold for a grandchild. I'm going to come to you, Brianna. To buying an ounce of gold in 2025, I think it was today, 2,500 an ounce. So if you have a grandchild who's a year and you bought an ounce of gold at 2,500, by the time that child is 15, that 1 ounce of gold will probably be worth £30,000. So what generational wealth is, having something in the present that will accumulate value in the future. It doesn't mean leaving paper. Buying a house in a up and coming area, or in an area that is sought after, is what you call generational wealth, because it's going to only go up in value. So anything that is going up in value that you can pass to future generations is what's called generational wealth. It's not leaving them money that is subject to inflation. You have to be cognizant of the trends of the future. So there's only ever, that's why there's all of this, but I won't go into that. So there's only ever a set amount of gold that you can mine out of the earth. Once all of the gold has been mined, its value goes parabolic. and it's the quintessence or the whole amount will be mined from the earth, probably in the very near future. We're not that far off, but its value is increasing by the day as people are moving away from fiat money or paper currency. But that's what you call generational wealth, and all of us should own something that we can pass down to the next generation other than the clothes on our back. Mm. And if you've bought items of value, that's what having a will is about. You got a watch on your hand, you got earrings in your ears, you got a chain around your neck, you've got a vintage car, whatever you have that is accumulating. You could even have a comic. Some of these comics are going up in value. There are all types of things that go up in value. Artwork goes up in value. So you buy a piece of art and you bequeath it to your children. That's generational wealth. It's not complicated. In fact, about it, it's only those who are complete disasters who don't have nothing to give to the next generation. Like, you have to be a disaster to have children and leave them nothing, not even a book. You following me? Some parents are such disasters, they leave their children debts. Like, they reverse the whole process. Rather than moving the children forward, they move the children back into their life to fix it up after they're physically dead. That's why when they say get your affairs in order, it means fix your broken life before your life evaporates. Am I making sense?
Yeah, I've got quite a few things there. Okay,
so every day you live, you should be dedicating every day to the next generation. Keeping yourself healthy in the meantime, keeping yourself, relevant, but you should always be working on a deal or something that's going to come to fruition in the future. Perfect tense. Yeah?
Yeah.
I hope I've helped.
That was interesting. You kind of knocked me back with that, what was it called? Conviction bit. That was kind of like a slap. That was quite interesting.
Sometimes we need a little slap.
Because I was speaking to somebody much more senior, and you tend to talk to them a certain way. So I didn't. When they said that, I didn't pull them back on it.
As long as you don't cuss them, you can speak. You can speak truth to older people.
Yes.
Because we're actually instructed not to follow older people than us who are foolish in their ways. Mm. Just because somebody's your dad and he's old, it doesn't mean you follow his guidance. Yes. Just because someone's older than you and they're your mother, it doesn't mean you follow their guidance. If they're right, yes, you do. But if they're wrong, no, we don't follow nobody who's wrong and who is not enlightened about the subject matter just because of their age, because there are many old senile people. Mm-hmm. And that is actually quite a popular thing nowadays, is senility. So that's because you're my grandpa, but you're senile, I'm going to follow your guidance. No, I'll humor you and say, yeah, grandpa. But when I get up, I say, man, we're losing grandpa. Grandpa's on his way. From whence he sprung. And I'm so glad I knew him when he was in his right mind. Yes, sir. Yeah?
Thank you very much. Thank you.
You're welcome. One thing you can always rely on is going to be the truth hour. Okay? So, Brianna, lastly, you got the final word.
I guess I want words of maybe advice to build with people from different backgrounds. Sure. Because I remember I was speaking to somebody, and I mean, I'm from New York, so I grew up with a lot of like Jamaicans and such. But I don't really have a culture per se. I say like my family was straight up slaves. Like I don't know where I came from, stuff like that, right? And sometimes people will look at that and be like, "Oh, well, we aren't the same culture." You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Well, I would say it like this, our collective culture is the truth. Our collective culture is excellence. Excellence is what we have in common. You want the best for me, and I want the best for you. You want the highest standards for me, and I want the highest standards for you. So the highest standards, equality with the best in civilized society. That's your culture. Your culture is not jerk chicken. I'm from the Caribbean, but I don't eat meat. So I don't derive my culture from the jerk pan. Are you following me? I derive my culture from the statesmen and women, and from the freedom fighters, and from the builders, and from the ancestry of royalty. That's where I derive my culture from. A culture of righteousness, a culture of being principled, a culture of striving for the very best that this world has to offer, which is our birthright. So if you're around people who are striving for the same, I would say you're in good company. But always document your arrangements. A handshake is not good enough. We need it in writing. Okay? Document your arrangements, because poor memory is the order of the day when somebody calls a debt. Yeah, and if you don't write it down, if you can't write it down, then don't do the business. It's not business, it's a favor. And none of us on this call are wealthy enough to be doing favors with the meager amount of funds that we've acquired in this short life. Am I making sense?
Yes, sir.
The hungry cannot continue to prevail on the hungry for sustenance. We can't keep doing it. We have to break out the hungry room and be in a room of abundance, which means an unlimited supply of what we need. I mean, you notice when you go to the park, there is no shortage of oxygen. It's abundant. It's abundant. The things that we generally need to keep us going daily, it's abundant. But then when you give individuals the power to control, they start to limit that which should be made available for every last one of us. Okay? So man and woman get what they strive for. And when you don't have something you claim you should have, don't kid yourself. If you strived for it, you would get it. And what you don't have, you have to strive harder and more intelligently.
Do you enjoy our content? Well, make sure to like, subscribe, and click that notification bell so you won't miss an episode.